to another edition of Cracking the Cryptic. Mark went through the diabolical Sudoku from the Daily Telegraph earlier. I'm going to look at the Times crossword from today. I've not looked at it yet, but what I'll do is I'll go through it, and for each clue I'll explain how the clue works and then tell you when to pause it so you can think about the answer, and we'll go through the whole crossword that way. I'm not sure how long the video will be, but we'll do this as an exercise in trying to work through clues once somebody talks you through what the way to read the clue correctly. So let's go through it. I hope this will be quite an instructive way of sort of teaching how to do these puzzles. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video myself now, so there's no thinking time in this. I'll just get a clue and then I'll explain what you need to do. Okay, well, one down. I have solved. The definition here is fabulous horse race. But you need to think about that. When you see the word fabulous, you need to think about it in two ways, really. First, it could be fabulous as in great, but it could also be fabulous as in fable. And here, that's the meaning that's being referred to. And then you've got this start of the clue: cases of hitherto ugly, half-forgotten Hanoverian mares. So here, the word cases is referring to the outside letters of words. So you need to think about the outside letters of the words, and don't worry too much if the word you seem to be coming up with appears to be absolute gibberish, because the writer in question did tend to have some very unusual names in his books. So I'll pause the video now and see if you can get it. The answer, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it, to be honest, because I have no idea how you pronounce it. But it's from Gulliver's Travels, and the Huins is the best I can do. So let's have a look at 2 down. Okay, well, this is a simple clue in the sense that it's a homophone. So we need a 3-letter word which is an exclamation of contempt, and that will sound like an expression for your old man, and old man can be refers to your father. So think of a way of referring to your father in 3 letters, and then just adjust the spelling somewhat so it would still sound the same, but it would be spelled slightly differently. Pause if you need to. The answer is pa, which sounds a bit like par, I think, if you say it with a particular stress. Okay. But let's have a look at 9 across. Northeastern hotel, full up sadly, offering no accommodation. So the definition here is offering no accommodation, and again you need to think about this very carefully. Don't just read the definition and think, okay, so I need a place that offers no accommodation. You have to read accommodation quite cryptically there. And Northeastern hotel full up sadly, well, sadly here is an anagram indicator, so we need to try and find 9 letters. Now, full up, that's just plain. North can be N, Eastern can be E, and remember from the International Radio Alphabet, hotel can actually be H. So the N, E, H, and the letters are full up there, they add up to 9. Try and anagram them and find something that would mean offering no accommodation. Again, pause if you need to. I'm going to type the answer now. Unhelpful. So if something offers no accommodation, it's unhelpful. Russian department closing after student department. Okay, here's a nice clue at 14 across. Large piece of skin ought to be put back evenly. So what we're looking for here is a word, 4-letter word beginning with H that means large piece. And we need to reverse the letters of skin ought. You can see here to be put back. So we reverse the letters of skin ought, and we just take the even letters. Again, pause, have a think about what I've just said there. Pause if you need to. I'm going to type the answer. It's hunk. And you can see that in the even letters, a reversal of ought skin. You can see H, U-N-K. Okay, and here we have another anagram, 18 across. So the definition is flowers, and then we have the words a symbol, some, mostly, abandoned. So the word some, mostly is saying take the first three letters of the word some, so take the S-O and the M. Abandoned is an anagram indicator, so we need to anagram the 10 letters that are formed by a symbol, S-O-M. Have a think, pause if you need to, and type the answer now. May blossom. 12 down, got some letters now. Reserve, ready for the match. Okay, and here's another lovely clue at 11 across. So in private, I agree to receive Republican minister. Well, the definition here is minister, and you might be able to have a guess at the answer if you think about it. I mean, there's two senses, I suppose, you might see minister. One would be in a religious context, the other would be in a political context. So have a think around that subject, see if you can come up with an expression that would fit, and then let's try and justify it. So I can tell you that the word in here is being used for a synonym that is this first four letters. Then after that you need a 6-letter word that means private, and you're going to add to that an expression, a 2-letter expression, which means I agree, and you're going to put that around the outside of an R for Republican. R can be an abbreviation for Republican. Pause if you need to. The answer is home, secret, airy. So home secretary, secret for private. I agree, AY. If you say I, you agree to something, and that's around the R there. So home secretary is the answer. Let's have a look at this. Okay, so body drawing is the definition here. From biography about girl. Well, you need a 4-letter word that could be a biography, a word for a biography. About here is being used to indicate the letter C, because C can mean circa. And if you say something is circa something, it's about that. And then a 4-letter generic expression for a girl. So again, have a think about that. It means body drawing. Pause if you need to. The answer is life. Oh, it would be if I could type it. The answer is life class. So life for biography, C for circa, lass for girl. Great clue at 5 down. Brussels throne room turned up treasure. Okay, so here it means treasure. That might help you to guess it if you can think of a 5-letter word that would fit here, that would fit treasure. Brussels throne room turned up is saying that we need to reverse an expression for a Brussels throne room. Well, Brussels, you might be able to think of, you know, there is an institution very topical in the British press at the moment, to which Brussels could refer. And then throne room is not referring to anything that, you know, to do with the royalty. It's to do with the loo, the toilet. So you need to come up with a 3-letter synonym for a toilet. Reverse it all, and you should be able to create a word that means treasure. So pause if you need to. The answer is value. EU lav reversed. Very, very good clue. Let's have a look at this one now. I had a quick look at that and solve it. I've solved this one. Absurd sentimentality about distant land. But again, I think this is a classic crossword clue, in that there is a sense in which you can discern where the definition is just by looking for instructional words in the clue. So if we read the clue, absurd sentimentality about distant land, there's only one word in there that's instructing you to, you know, shuffle things around or change the order of them, and that's the word about. So if we can think of a word for sentimentality and put that around the edge of a word or an abbreviation for a distant land, then we might be able to come up with a word that means absurd. So it's a 3-letter word for sentimentality, and a 2-letter abbreviation for a very distant land. Pause if you need to. This is Gonzo. New Zealand being inside goo there for sentimentality. So 6 down, I'm looking at this and I've already thought of an answer that might fit, so that's another thing that I would recommend you do. Sometimes it's good just to look at the letters you have and guess. So here, the words here question mark is referring to the fact that this is a very generic expression for a place. Now, the definition or the wordplay here is quite difficult, and I defy anyone really to get this without these helpful checking letters. But what you need to do is to come up with a short synonym for a word that means row or row. It's a 3-letter word, and you need to place that inside an anagram of EG on A, because you can see the word fancy here is being used as an anagram indicator. If you can come up with an anagram of EG on A, put it around the edge of the 3-letter synonym for the word row, and you can come up with a place that will fit in here. Pause if you need to. The answer is no go area. So there you can see or, the row is being put inside the anagram. Okay, I think I've now solved for or across. It's not an expression I knew, but I can explain how it works. The whole thing means is the name of a vessel. You need to think about vessel very laterally there. It could be a vessel as in something that goes to sea, or it could also mean just something that holds liquid. And then very can be abbreviated to V. So you need to use V there. And then this expression, unusual coupling hooks, is saying unusual is an anagram indicator, so that's saying anagram the word coupling and hook it around the V for very. So it's a very difficult wordplay, this. So you need to put V in the middle of an anagram of coupling into this set of letters here, and you should be able to come up with an expression. Pause if you need to. The answer is loving cup, I think. You can come up with a better anagram than that, so I think it's right. And then 8 down, one holding chair for piano opposite. Okay, so here the definition is one holding chair. You should be able to, these are very helpful letters here. Piano is very, very often P, so there's a P there, that looks good. And opposite here is being used as a reversal indicator, so you need to reverse 4P somehow. Have a think about how you might do that. The answer, I'm going to type it, is prof. Just see it's a simple reversal. And prof is short for professor, which is somebody who holds a chair in an academic sense. Okay. And a simple clue at 23 down. Over from a spinner. So you need a 4-letter word which means over. And then this is from. A is just plain here, and you need a 3-letter word for a spinner. Put them together and you should be able to come up with the answer. The answer is a top. Demanding return of books, we're disgusted. Let's have a look at 15 across. This is a good example of a cryptic definition. So you need to read the whole clue in a particular way in order to just write in the answer. There's no wordplay here. So company or department whose business is first to pick up question mark. The question mark there is indicating that you need to just read it very laterally. Whose business is first to pick up. So you need to think about not the sense in which business might pick up if it gets better, but if you were what sort of things might you pick up? And if you can think about it in the context of picking up a phone, you'll probably get the answer. So pause if you need to. The answer is call centre. Okay, 19. Place such as Washington wouldn't do for everyone. Okay, let's have a look at 16 down. So behold ring being used to bind each. Type of folder. Again, it's gettable, this, once you have got these letters. So you need to know that behold, if you see the word behold in a Times crossword clue, very often it's indicating low, because you might say lo and behold. So low, then ring. Well, ring can sometimes literally just be that, a ring, i.e. an O, something in the shape of a ring. So this looks quite good as the start of this answer. Being used to bind each. Well, believe it or not, this is a 4-letter word for a being, and that needs to bind, i.e. it needs to surround, an abbreviation for the word each. So it's a 2-letter abbreviation, very common one, and then the whole thing, 5-4, will be a type of folder. And you may be able to guess at the answer looking at what we have in the grid. Pause if you need to. The answer is loose leaf. And there you can see LOO followed by self for being, surrounding EA. Well, 7 down is another very difficult word, I think, although the definition gives you a chance, the wordplay gives you a chance. So let me try and explain it. So the whole thing means design. It's a type of design. And then civil engineer, well, that can be very often abbreviated to CE. So you need to know that. You need to put CE around the edge of a man's name, 4-letter word for a man's name, an S, because the apostrophe S is actually being used in the wordplay here. So you need a 4-letter word for a man's name, followed by the S, followed by a 4-letter word that means jolly. And here, jolly is being used as a noun. So if you go on a jolly, you might go on this answer. So have a pause and think about this one. It's not easy. The answer is candy stripe, believe it or not. And the way it breaks down is you've got CE all around Andy's trip for fellows jolly. Not easy, as I said. This crossword is very, very good, as well as being quite tricky. This is a brilliant clue at 19 across. Place such as Washington wouldn't do for everyone. So this is a 4-letter word that means place. And then you need to think of a 3-letter word that means such as Washington wouldn't do. So you need to know a bit of history there. There's something that somebody called Washington said he'd never do. That's the first part of this answer. And then in a cinematic sense, if something is for everyone, it's given a particular certificate. And that's the last letter of this answer. And that might give you a clue as to what the word is. You might then be able to justify the rest of it. So pause if you need to. The answer is Lou. Lou obviously being a word meaning place. George Washington would never tell a lie. And then for everybody, a U certificate in the cinema sense. So absolutely superb clue. Very hard to understand what's going on there, I think, unless you have a bit of experience with these devious setters and what they try to do to you. Okay, there's another very difficult clue at 25 across. This is sort of what we could refer to as an and-lit clue. And an and-lit clue, the whole clue operates as a definition, and the whole clue is also operating to give you the wordplay. So let me try and explain how this works. Who, perhaps? Well, we need to think of, I don't really know how to say this without saying it, but you need to think of not somebody, but somebody called who. And there's obviously a TV show that's relevant there. Well, that person could have an abbreviation that's the start of this answer, and then it uses its elaborately. Elaborately there is saying anagram, the words uses and its. And if you do that and add it to the abbreviation we came up with at the start, you can come up with an expression which sort of means what someone might be wearing if they were elaborately turned out. So pause if you need to, this isn't an easy clue. The answer is dress suit. So there you've got Doctor Who, DR, followed by the anagram of uses its, and the dress suit is obviously something you would be turned out in if you were looking very smart. Not easy. Okay, this is another very good clue at 26 down. Reading maybe for which one has no time. Well, the first key to getting this clue or understanding it is to realise that reading could also be read as reading. So reading maybe. What is reading an example of? That is the definition here. And then the rest of it, well, we need a four-letter word which means one, and we need to remove a T from that word. And that will give us, that's the wordplay that will give us the answer. And pause if you need to. The answer is uni, which is unit without its final T there. Ship touring Caribbeans in race. Well, this is the name of a race, which obviously that can have two meanings as well, at least. It could be like the Grand National would be a type of race, so it could also be a race as in a people. So Swedish might be the name of a race. Cool. And ship, well, ship can often be SS. That's very helpful to solving this clue. So ship touring is suggesting we need to put SS around the edge of something. And then Caribbeans, this is very difficult. I mean, you need to come up with a two-letter abbreviation for the Caribbean, and then this S, again, this apostrophe S, is giving us an S in this position. So, pause if you need to, as I say, the answer is Swiss. So we've got SS for the ship, touring West Indies, WI, apostrophe S. Again, not easy. 13 down is now gettable. I'm not sure it would have been gettable without some checking letters. The whole thing means needs, and then about here, we saw it being used for circa, but obviously if something is about something, it can be it as well, re. So that forms the start of this, and then you need a four-letter word that would be a definition of the word pound here. When daughter's going, so you need to remove a D from the word you've thought of that means pound, and then you need to add to that a five-letter word which means places at the end there. So pause if you need to. The answer is requisites. So 20 down, the works of O. Henry missing from promotions. Another brilliant surface. The definition here is the works, so you need to think of a six-letter word which can be an expression for works of some sort. If you think musically, you'll be on the right lines here. Then the wordplay, well, O. Henry, we need to take the O from O. Henry, and that's going to be the first letter. And then we need to think of a six-letter word for promotions, from which we're going to remove an H, because Henry can be abbreviated to H in these crosswords. So have a think about how you might do that. I think it's not too difficult with these checking letters, so pause if you need to. The answer is opuses, with pushes there for promotions, removing its H. So here we go, girl climbing a mountain finally needing a hand up. Well, again, it's a very difficult wordplay. It's a five-letter girl's name is the answer. Climbing a mountain finally is saying in this down clue we can reverse this A and the last letter of the word mountain. So if we reverse that, we would get that, because it's climbing, and then we need a three-letter word for a hand, which we're also going to reverse. So up here is saying reverse the synonym you've thought of for a hand. If you give someone a hand, you would help them, or this word, reverse it. I'm sure you've all got it already. The answer is Nadia. Not easy. So it's like something half. Okay, 21 across. Again, it's a slight literary reference. So, physicians say in which murder committed. So the definition here is in which murder committed. So you need to think of something that would fit in here where there might have been a murder. And then the first 6 letters are a synonym of the word position. The last 7 letters are a synonym of say. Now pause if you need to. The answer is orient. Orient. Express. Okay. So here, it's a slightly odd clue. This, I think, if you had stuff in reserve, you would have this expression. So reserve, I think, is being used as the definition. A reserve of cash. And then you need a 5-letter word which means ready. And this is going in at the start, so that's pretty obvious what that is. And then for the match, if something's for the match, it could be said to be for this, but not in the sense of a football match, but in the sense of a match you would light. So have a think about it, pause if you need to. The answer is money to burn. If you had money to burn, you would have it in reserve. This is now gettable, I think 24 across. It means, it's a 5-letter word meaning demanding. And then return of books, well, you need to know that books in crosswords very often refer to the books of the Bible. And as a collection, that can be the Old Testament or the New Testament, which would be abbreviated to OT or NT. So a return of books here, if we try and think of that at the start of this, there's only one of those that will work. And then we're disgusted, you need something that people might say if they were disgusted. It's a short 3-letter synonym for it's an expression that you might utter. You might see it in a comic book when someone's disgusted. Pause if you need to. It's tough. So OT being reversed plus UGH there. This is another brilliant clue. It's pretty difficult at 17 down. It's gettable with these checking letters, but otherwise it would be awfully hard. It's an 8-letter word that means whacking. And then small boy here, well, it's a boy's name, and small is referring to the fact that it's it's a very few letters, and it's 2 letters, a boy's name at the start here, so that should give you that. And then could, you need a 5-letter word that means could, and end in outcry is saying take the last letter of the word outcry. So pause if you need to. The answer is almighty. Al, might, and then the Y there from the end of outcry. If something is an almighty mess, it's a whacking mess, or it's a big mess. Right, now we come to the last 3, all of which are pretty difficult, to be honest. Well, I mean, one across maybe isn't as difficult, but it's a very obscure reference. So all 3 of these take with a large pinch of salt. If you couldn't solve them when you were going through it before we've gone through it in the video, or if you don't really understand them now, don't worry too much. They will be difficult for even the very best solvers. So let's have a look at this one. It's a 2-word expression that means cheap theatre. It's an old expression for a cheap theatre as well. You need to think of a 5-letter word for one that can suddenly drop, and then you need a homophone for a clangor, as in an error. If you commit an error, there's a word you might use for that. It's not even that's quite a difficult word. Pause if you need to. The answer is penny gaff. So something that you might drop, suddenly drop is a penny, and then gaff, G-A-F-F-E. If you commit a gaff, you would commit a clangor. or a dropper clanger. So not easy at all. A penny gaff is an old expression for a theatre that was, let's have a look at it in fact. There we go, I've just got it up on the video there, so hopefully you can see that penny gaff, noun, slang, a low class theatre. It doesn't say it's an old expression, but I think it was. I don't think you get too many theatres these days where they only cost a penny to go to them. Anyway, let's carry on. Now, one across. What township police would need. Now, I'm slightly guessing at this one. I can see that hidden in the letters of this clue is a word that, you know, is consecutively appearing. If you could look inside the words township police, you can see the word hippo in there. Now, I'm guessing, I don't know this, I only know hippo as a sort of animal, but maybe in a South African township, a hippo is a, I don't know whether it's a gun or a vehicle or something, but I think there must be an expression here I'm not familiar with. Because you can, I think it's an andlit again, i.e. what township, it's something township police would need, and township police, as in the words township police, obviously need the letters HIPPO in order to actually be spelt correctly. So that's the way that the clue is meant to be read, I think. Now finally, 3 down. This is not easy. I mean, it depends how much you know about Russian departments. This is a 6-letter word, it's the name of a Russian department. You need a 4-letter word that means closing, and that needs to follow a 2-letter abbreviation for student departed, believe it or not. So actually, you know, if you used to be at a particular school, you'd be referred to as an of the school, and that has an abbreviation. So I think it's gettable from that description. I'll write it in now. Oblast, which I think, from memory, is the name of the Russian department. So now this was an extremely hard crossword with a lot of brilliantly inventive clues, a lot of very difficult wordplay, a lot of definitions where, you know, your first thought would have been wrong. So I think there's a lot for, you know, even relatively experienced solvers of Times crossword to appreciate in this puzzle. I hope this has been a useful exercise to run through it, and we'll see you again next time.